Hello and welcome to another update show here in the city of Peekskill. I'm Mayor John Testa. You can hear the noise in the background. You can see a lot of work being done. We're down here on Central Avenue. And I'm joined today by our Director of City Services, Dave Greener. Dave, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, man.
This is a very, very big project for the city of Peekskill, and I think it's worthy of us being here to explain to you exactly what's happening down here so everyone in the city understands what is going on here. And Dave has been our man on the ground here for months, planning this project, first of all, now under the construction of it. And Dave, this is a major initiative for the city and very important.
Yeah, this is a big drainage issue. What we have is a 96-inch corrugated metal pipe on the other side of the street, right in front of the art loft that's failed. So what we've done is we've redesigned and bring it up from McGregory Brook existing now. We've opened up a section of channel for the garden club. We're going to have a nice little footbridge going across. But bottom line is that this is actually going to be able to handle, finally, the amount of water that we're getting on this end of the city.
Well, there's a lot of aspects to this project, and as you mentioned, it's all because of a failed corrugated pipe that was put in back in the 70s during urban renewal when the police station was built. And it's underneath the southern end of Central Avenue, closer to the art lofts. And what we're doing here is a parallel project, basically, so we don't have to dig up over by the art lofts and replace the corrugated. You're putting in a high-density cement culvert system similar to what was done on the southern end.
Yes, what we have here is right now, the engineer has increased the volume, the ability to take an added volume of water. And this all boiled back to the early April rainstorms that we saw down in the city here. Some of the staff and crew have noticed that the curb in front of the art loft was starting to waver and elevation was dropping. We did an inspection underground and saw the pipe was actually failing. So we came to the mayor and council, at which time we're glad they supported our ideas, and we declared an emergency. Since that emergency has been declared, FEMA has stepped in and declared an emergency in Westchester County for additional damages that were done, but not only in Peekskill but other neighboring communities from the amount of water that we got. So now this project is actually, instead of just being funded by City of Peekskill taxpayers, now is being funded by the state and by the federal government.
Well, since you mentioned the funding, it's basically a $2 million project, roughly $2 million project, and most of it's being paid for by FEMA.
Yes, 75% of it will be picked up by FEMA, 12.5% by the state, and 12.5% by the city.
And again, just to point out, this has nothing to do with the problems we had on the lower end, actually, which is the western end of Central Avenue. This is a whole different problem caused by a different situation, as you said, the failed corrugated galvanized pipe, which basically is rusted out.
That's true. The joints have failed due to the volume of water that we got, but the good part of this project is that we not only get to redesign, and FEMA supported us on our redesign, which they call an improved project, we're also going to get to increase the amount of parking that's used by the police department. We're going to be able to remove all the police vehicles from the Nelson Avenue ramp, and we're going to have a larger parking lot up on the upper deck here where we're standing right now for the police department, and the lower deck down here, we're in negotiations right now with Con Edison, and we're going to expand the lower police parking lot, so this way it'll give the residents more area to park and the police department a secure area to keep their vehicles.
Well, that's an important side benefit. That's an also important side benefit to the project, where we're getting the benefit of not having to dig up where the existing failed culvert is, because you're going to fill that in. We're going to switch over the flow of water to the new culvert, and we'll be able to just fill that in and not have to ever dig it up. We're also getting additional parking, which will be freeing up 40 or more parking spaces in the Nelson Avenue ramp. We're going to be, we opened up 280 feet of McGregory Brook that was originally covered, so now we're opening up to the public 280 feet of the stream of the brook. We're replanting, and I think in a better location and a better situation, the garden club's garden, or rose garden. So we're really making this project to a lot of positives.
Yeah, it's not only the fact that by FEMA's cost estimates, it would have cost the city and the federal government an additional $1.3 million to keep the pipe in its existing location. By relocating the pipe, we're actually saving $1.3 million. In addition, the pipe that's over there is going to stay there, but we're going to fill it in with Cake Creek to secure the site.
And as you were telling me not too long ago, FEMA was here, and we want to thank FEMA, and we know, and I think we should just take a break on our project for a second to recognize what's happening down in New Orleans and that area of the country, how they've been hit by the hurricane, and we want to give them our prayers and our thoughts, and anyone in the city of Peekskill who would like to help the people down there in Louisiana and Georgia and Tennessee and so forth. If you watch your local stations, there are the donations you can give, mainly to the Red Cross. But FEMA has been a big help to us here.
FEMA's been a very large supporter. They're excited over the redesign and the savings of taxpayers' dollars. They're very supportive. Normally, if we follow FEMA's rule book and guide, we would have to replace where it's existing. Thankfully, they were able to send somebody up from Washington, D.C. Greg Ormsby came up on behalf of FEMA, helped us do the paperwork, the documentation, and everything that was required by the federal government to get the funding for what they're calling an improved project right now.
And that's a lot has to do with Dave is being a little modest. Dave has worked very hard, and you've really put in a lot of hours and thought, and we have Matt Noviello on this project, who's an outstanding engineer who helped us on the lower portion of this project. And now let's talk about where we're headed. We're here in the parking lot of the police headquarters, and you can see we're moving along toward the intersection of Nelson and Central Avenue. We're going to continue through that intersection.
That's correct. We're going to actually end this project about midstream on Park Street between Nelson Avenue and Division Street, basically behind Wachovia Bank. There's a chamber that we'll be doing a transition to from this box culvert into the existing concrete pipe that carries McGregory Brook under the business district of the city.
And as people who have driven down Nelson Avenue see these new temporary poles in with suspension wire for electrical, why are they there?
Well, there's approximately 23 13,000 volt electrical lines that are actually in the road in Nelson Avenue to service not only Peekskill but parts of Cortland, Yorktown. What Con Ed has done is they've engineered a solution for us to get our box in by installing these temporary utility poles to pull all of the electric lines out of the road, put them overhead, and once we get our box in, they go back under the ground again.
And it's important to realize, or for people to realize, as they drive by this project, Con Ed is a very integral part of it. And people might not remember, just a few years ago it was knocked down, but there was a substation here from Con Ed, which was basically a hub for their electrical lines.
Yeah, the Con Ed substation was removed approximately 2 years ago. The city right now is negotiating for the acquisition of that property so we can increase our parking area for the police department, as well as we'll have a walk-through area from the residents from Bowman Towers, so they, rather than walking through the dirt path that used to be there, they'll have a nice new sidewalk coming through to tie them into Washington Street and this side of town.
And also it's important to realize that because that substation was here is why all these main trunk lines are located under Central Avenue.
Yes, the city of Peekskill has been a hub for many reasons and for many years. Obviously, a lot of Verizon lines come through the city of Peekskill, and they're a hub for Yorktown and Cortland and surrounding communities, as well as obviously the electric, which was a really large issue here.
And finally, just to put a cap on this whole thing, what branched out of this whole project was to take the engineering a few steps further, which is to go up a little bit east of here to what was known as Penelope Pond, and now we are looking to incorporate the restoration of Penelope Pond and the dam up there as part of the engineering for here.
Yes, FEMA has also once again stepped up to the bat, and we're going to reclaim Penelope Pond. We're going to dredge it out probably 1.5 acres in size, and we're hoping to about 12 foot in depth, and reinstall a dam with a water control device that allow us to lower the water level on Penelope Pond in case of a storm. This will give us the ability to retain 3 to 4 million gallons of stormwater, thereby relieving the pressure we have on Central Avenue and Water Street.
Well, let's take a ride up there and show the community what we're talking about and finish the whole concept for this project, and so everybody understands how much thought and planning and engineering has gone into it. Let's take a ride up.
Now, do you want to talk about the field?
Before we go up to Penelope Pond, Dave, I thought we'd come down and actually be on the site itself. We're standing now on top of the box culvert that's going in, And as we can see, it's heading parallel to the art lofts, parallel to Central Avenue, and eventually it's going to cut into Central Avenue where you said up near the back end of the bank there.
Right, this is actually, we're standing on top right now. This is going to be covered by about a foot of dirt. And as we go up the street, you can see, as you look into the excavation site, it's going to get deeper and deeper. Right now, we're in the upper police parking lot. We're about 22 feet deep. That's just to the base of the culvert, and we still have to dig another foot or so to put the bedding down for the culvert.
And these sections are very heavy in themselves. Each one of these sections that you add on weighs how much?
Each section is 15 tons, 30,000 pounds, and I believe altogether there's going to be about 80 sections of pipe.
So we're just in the very beginning stages of laying the actual culvert, and obviously you have to excavate, prepare the site, prepare the base before these can be dropped in. And we can see in front of us some electrical lines that had to be reformulated into conduit and into a some kind of a box you have over here.
Yeah, we ran into a little problem over here. The building, the police department, the library, nutrition center requires about a 2,000 amp service, which is about 10 times that of a normal house. We had to relocate these, raise the elevation so we could actually get our box culvert in underneath these. And that's where Con Ed was instrumental in allowing us to continue operating the police department. They supplied us with a generator, gracefully so. We very much appreciate that. And of course, in front of us, you'll see we also have the telephone lines, a couple of sewer lines from the building itself, as well as the storm lines from the building and parts of the street.
And I was down here the other day, and I noticed that the clearance between the top of the box culvert and the conduit is very slight. I was talking to Matt Noviello, the engineer, and he said it's about a foot clearance. So this is how tight the engineering is on these types of projects. People don't realize these kind of things that have to be figured out.
Well, a lot of the reason why we did the improved project and redesigned and relocated the pipe was due to that fact. If we actually went to dig out in the street here and you looked at it, it's basically like a bowl of spaghetti with all the
Right.
pipes, utilities, the wires, the telecommunications equipment that's in the ground here. We also have several gas regulating stations that are here that are owned by Con Ed. So this was actually in the best interest not only of the city but also the utility companies to try and minimize the cost.
Okay, so let's take a walk down. You can see just on the other side of this is where McGregory Brook was reopened for close to 300 feet. Let's see if we can go take a look at that before we head up to Penelope Pond. Now we're on the farthest western portion of the box culvert. You can see the opening that's going to end up being where the open part of McGregory Brook is, Dave, and you can see they're starting to formulate the sides of what the brook will be. And this is going to now head down and actually have a graduated decline down to the lower level.
Yeah, this actually what they call riprap, but this is a special kind of riprap. This stone was actually all knitted together. Right now it's a little messy in appearance because we have to stockpile some of the fill that's being taken out from the police department parking lot because I'm running out of room to lay down. But the bottom line in the finished product is actually going to be a stone ravine that's going to be in a U-shaped here. And you see there's approximately 25, 26 feet of elevation change between this actual riprap open stream area and the existing McGregory Brook. Right in this area here is where we're going to relocate the garden club. We're going to put a nice little footbridge coming across, reinstall a garden, obviously. So the aesthetics of this end of the project is actually pretty impressive. As you can see, we're segregating the existing surface water from Central Avenue from approximately midway on the first block on Park Street down to this end of Central Avenue and actually dumping it in down here where the elevation changes. This way we don't increase any volume, gives us a little more room for growth on the culvert that we're installing right now.
The aesthetics are going to be wonderful here to have the brook open again right along Central Avenue. So as our waterfront plan comes to fruition and we start to connect the downtown to the waterfront like we've always talked about, people who walk down Central Avenue will now see the McGregory Brook open. They'll see the flow of water. They'll see actual, not really a waterfall, but a cascading effect down to the lower level.
That's correct. It'll be like a cascading, a rolling water type effect. We could have did a waterfall effect, but for public safety and obvious reasons, we wanted to give it this gradual, which if you look at it really isn't that gradual. So the water is actually going to be ripping through here at a pretty good rate.
Oh, it's going to be a wonderful addition. And again, we're adding all these ancillary positives to this problem that we're working on, and not only is Central Avenue from top to bottom going to be solid for hundreds of years to come, it's going to be a beautiful place again.
Yeah, finally, I mean, I've been with the city for over 30 years, and every time we get a 1 or 2 inch rainfall, Water Street was always underwater. 2 years ago, we finally finished up the lower part of Central Avenue that was funded by FEMA and by the state, similar to this situation. I hate to jinx myself, but we haven't been flooded on Water Street since we redesigned down there and raised it above sea level. So this is actually very positive. It's just that the pieces of the puzzle all seem to be falling. Preventing any further damage from the art loft building, the sidewalks and curbs in the area. This is just great. We're actually also being able to upgrade our water mains in this area, sanitary sewer lines, storm surface water. Everything it's going to be new, and this is actually a big positive for us.
It's a great project, and we're doing it the right way. We started with doing it the right way on the lower end. We didn't just fix every little problem in its little area. It's been a global engineering plan, and it's really coming together.
What we're doing here is an emergency repair of an 8-foot diameter corrugated metal pipe drainage culvert. The existing drainage culvert is on the south side of Central Avenue, up and down the road here, and it's collapsing. There's a sinkhole down at the corner of Depew Street, which has collapsed 3 times on us. We've repaired it the first 2 times, and the third collapse is still open. Meanwhile, the City Common Council has declared an emergency for this project to get the new culvert installed as quickly as possible. We've started installing the new reinforced concrete box culvert yesterday. And as you can see, several of the pieces are in place now. Approximately 23 pieces were put in place between yesterday and today. We're going to continue along this path and come right up through here and right up through the hill. When we get up to the intersection with Nelson Avenue, we make a 6-degree turn to the south and then a 20-degree turn to south on the other side of the intersection. And right behind Wachovia Bank, we're going to connect into the existing corrugated metal pipe culvert, and that will complete the drainage project. After that, the existing culvert will no longer be in use, and we're going to fill that culvert with soft concrete, commonly called Cape-Crete, and that will complete the project.
We're up here now on East Main Street up by Penelope Pond, which is really at the entrance to the lower parking lot of Little League, Tompkins Park, and right next to the old Peekskill shopping center that burned down a few months back. And you can see from this old picture, from looking at the cars, Dave, I think it's from the 40s, maybe early 40s, we're standing basically in the same area that this perspective was taken of this condition of Penelope Pond in the wintertime, back at the time it was taken. And you can see now everything is grown over. There's trees, there's bushes, there's weeds, and it's just a real mess in here. And this is really where the main project is going to take place.
This is a good part of the project right here. What we have is, as you see from the picture, this used to be Penelope Pond. Through years of erosion and siltation, water settling in this dam, and then finally, I believe the dam failed in the early 70s as well. We lost the pond, and since, you see, we have these extremely large trees growing out of here. So what we want to do is reclaim the pond, use it as retention. This will hold our 3 to 4 million gallons of water and allow us to control some of the flow that goes down to Central Avenue and Water Street. But in retrospect, and if you look at it, the picture, we're actually going to end up with a nice recreation area here. We're going to dig this out, hopefully do about 12 feet deep. The DEC is going to entertain the thoughts of bringing some certain species of fish in here for fishing, and also to help the environment with the pond and help it become lively and once again functioning. We will have the ability to drain this pond down to about 4 feet, 5 feet, whatever the DEC deems is necessary to sustain the wildlife, and then in turn, like I said earlier, retain the water. Now, if you look at the pictures, the photograph that we have here that was taken by an engineer back in the early 40s, we are, as you said earlier, standing in the exact location where that photograph was taken. And as we walk in, you'll be able to get a better perspective on what the condition of the dam is and how it's been deteriorating over the years. In addition, this will also help the residents on Park Street as well, because lately, as they know better than anybody else, that when we do get these heavy rainstorms that we've been experiencing the past 5 or 6 years, The severity of the flooding won't be there as much. We will be able to control, especially the water flow on Park Street, helping the residents to live along McGregory Brook on both sides at that point.
If you look at this photo from the 40s, you can see right through to Park Street. You can see there were no trees really. It was an open area. The kids who grew up here, I know some who have grown up here who still live in town, talk about it all the time. It's a real sentimental part to their growing up, and they're going to be able to come back here again. I think a lot of them are looking forward to that. But there's an aesthetic portion to this project, but the engineering portion is we're going to be rebuilding the pond, as you say, as a retention pond. The dam will be rebuilt. So in the future, if there's a large storm coming that's projected, you can basically drain the pond out,
That's correct.
close off the dam, and then that will hold back a lot of the pressure of the water that would come down through a storm.
Yeah, that will not only control the water, but also help us control the erosion that we've been suffering. From this point down through Park Street to where the open air brook, so we call it, goes back underground again.
So let's go in and look at a little bit more detail, and we can show people what condition this really is in now, which is very, very poor and actually dangerous. Inside the woods, actually, on top of the dam, and you can see the dam has basically disintegrated for the most part, and the condition of this area is atrocious, and this will all be changed.
Yeah, right now this is not visible from either Main Street or Park Street, which is probably only about 50, 60 feet from where we're standing. But as the camera's showing right now, the dam has begun to deteriorate probably back in the early 70s and has continued to get progressively worse. This is the dam we want to replace, which in FEMA's eyes is called a water control structure, and the pond is actually in FEMA's eyes called a water retention basin. For certain reasons, they don't want to call it a pond, they don't want to call it a dam, so as long as they're helping us with the funding, I'll call it whatever they want to call it. As you can see, debris is actually in here probably once or twice a month just to clean up the trash to get
Nothing, I'm sure nothing positive happens in here. There's another area that will be cleaned up for the city. It'll be also opened up so the police will have a better chance of policing this area. And as we're talking about that, Dave, we're not going to go down there today, but on the other end of Penelope Pond, a few hundred feet the other way, going east of here, is Tompkins baseball field. And this project is really going to be benefiting the Little League program as well. We're going to be extending their upper parking. We're going to be getting rid of those precarious steps that go up to the back end there, and we're going to be really giving them a whole new look up there as well.
Yeah, that's been dubbed Heart Attack Hill, from what I understand, because that is one heck of a walk. There's probably 25, 26 feet, once again, of elevation change between the lower part of Tompkins Park and where the Little League playing field is. We want to increase that parking capacity to about 50 to 60 cars. This way we'll be able to accommodate the ball fields that are there, the parents that are there, and as well as the spectators that want to come and watch.
We're going to be doing other improvements to Tompkins area, and we'll bring them as time goes on. But I know we've had close contact with the board there. They're really excited about the prospect of having the improvements done. And we're also exploring ways in between Penelope Pond and Little League to add some other recreation, and we're exploring that. We'll be bringing that forward once that is developed. But there's a lot of possibilities here. This is another area that has been neglected for 40 years, 30, 40 years. You can see what condition it's in. It's time that we do something, and it's not going to cost us any money.
That's correct. This is the home run of the whole situation. This becomes a functional project, as well as adding, once again, to the aesthetics and a recreation area for the residents of Peekskill. As you can see, this is all silted in. This is from years and years of upstream erosion and obviously neglect. We have some pretty large trees growing out of here right now, which we're not too crazy about having removed the trees, but we do want to reclaim the pond, and we will be planting additional trees and greenery in here.
Well, you'll be making a more controlled area, and obviously these trees weren't originally here, so we're making it a historic restoration as well, which is important. So I think it's going to be a great project. I want to thank you for taking the time today. I know you're busy with the project going on day in and day out down at Central Avenue, and I want to thank you for taking the time to go over this, but I think it's important that the community see exactly how extensive this project is and what the benefits will be in the end. So thanks.
Well, I really appreciate the support the mayor and council have given this project. I mean, this is a very positive project. Usually projects are looked at like it's a burden, it's additional work, but this project is a lot of work, but it's actually very exciting because we know the finished product is going to be very good.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay. So as you can see, this Central Avenue project is a major project. It's going to have implications for not only decades to come, but probably centuries to come here in the city of Peekskill. So we're really excited about it. Hopefully now you understand it a little bit better. The next announcement I have is very, very satisfying to me and to us in the city. Our financial situation has turned around dramatically. We started, as you'll probably know if you were watching the auditor's report to the city council. We went on an aggressive 3-year plan to combat all the situations that have been brought upon us since 9/11 with the retirement incentives and insurance implications that we've had to deal with over the last few years in the city. And our auditor has informed us of the great condition financially the city is in. We've done everything the right way. And you'll see also soon on the government channel a separate show we just taped that will explain in a little bit more detail the auditor's report and what went into that, and so you can understand a little bit better. But the even better announcement we have to make today is that the city manager's budget was just released, and for the year 2006, it's projected to have absolutely no tax increase in the city of Peekskill. So we'll have a 0% tax for 2006 in the city of Peekskill, which is an extraordinary turnaround for us here in the city. We're very excited about it. It's something we've been working for, as I said, for the last 3 years. We do long-term projections for all of our planning, and now with all the projects on board that have started to come to fruition here in the city of Peekskill, the completion of Chapel Hill, the Beach Shopping Center, which is just up the road from here, the Riverbend project, which is coming on board in sections and in phases, some of the other projects that have gone around in the city, we've been able to now bring in over $1.3 additional million in revenue for the city for this year that we can project for 2006. So we're excited about that, which is why the importance of all the projects we have planned for the future. We now have a 3 to 5 or more year projection for the future, and we look very, very good down the road. So I want to thank again all the people in the community for sticking with us, having the trust in us and the understanding that we had to get through what actually everybody in the state and the country had to get through. So you'll be hearing more about it, but I thought you should know as soon as possible, which is exciting. Also, what happened recently, we had a visit from our Congresswoman Sue Kelly, and she came to town and had asked me to accompany her into downtown. She's very business-minded. She's helped us throughout our revitalization efforts. Part of our Grow Peekskill Fund and additional grants and loans that we've been able to establish. She helped us find the funding for that through the SBA as well as other agencies. So we're excited about her coming to town, and she wanted to come to town and go through the small business owners and tell them about even additional federal funding that's available through grants that she can help them get. And there's some other initiatives she wanted to talk to them about. Also during the summer, they like to make sure people understand about the counterfeit system. Sometimes there are those who try to, unfortunately, reproduce illegal currency and pass that on as a real currency, and she wanted to make sure that the small business owners in Peekskill understood how to detect those counterfeits. So I accompanied her for a couple hours to the downtown, and I think she was well received, brought some very good information, and hopefully through her visit here, maybe even more businesses will be able to obtain some funding and really thrive in the city of Peekskill. Also recently, we just had earlier in August, we had on the first weekend the celebration again, a wonderful celebration weekend here in the city. We want to thank Entergy again for sponsoring the fireworks and all those involved. It was a great weekend. I think people had a great time, and I think we owe a lot of people a debt of gratitude for keeping that alive in Peekskill. I think everybody enjoyed it, and hopefully next year will be just as good, if not better. Also recently, you've probably noticed by now and heard in the news, if not on the government channel, our new project, the CPC Downtown Revitalization Project, $8.3 million project was announced and is underway in the downtown on Main Street and North Division Streets, a major accomplishment for the city, a major downtown revitalization effort that will bring 20 more condominiums and 7 new retail to the downtown, as well as major rehabs to 2 historic buildings. One will have a financial business in it, and the other one will have the first Guinness Irish pub in Westchester County will be in downtown Peekskill. A very, very big investment by the company, millions of dollars of private investment for the downtown, something we're all excited about, and I think once that is established in the downtown on North Division Street, 13 North Division Street, you'll see a whole new life to the downtown, and we're excited about it, as well as the new retail and so forth. So these properties being put back on the tax roll, this future planning that we've been able to do is now coming to fruition, and these projects are important to keep on board and keep on track for our revenue stream for the future and the low taxes we anticipate for extended future here in the city of Peekskill. We also will be having a special event on September 21st at the Paramount at 7:30. Ginsburg Development will be coming to the Paramount again for a citywide presentation. Anyone's invited. If you live in the city of Peekskill, you'll be getting a card inviting you to come to the Paramount at 7:30 on the 21st to see the latest development toward the waterfront project. If you remember, over a year ago, we had the similar opening of the project, actually a year and a half ago, and a lot of public input was put in from that point on. Smaller group meetings have taken place also throughout the city, so they're coming back to us with their latest version of what they think the waterfront plan could look like, and we're very anxious to get public feedback on that. So, as all things we do here, very open process, very deep and welcome public input. So hopefully on the Paramount, if you don't get to the Paramount on the 21st, it will be videotaped and you will be able to see it on the government channel. So whether you're there in person or not, you'll be able to see the latest version of the waterfront plan. We're hoping to keep that on track as well. We believe that's really the future of our city, and it's really the future prospects for our many aspects of the city's future. And we want to make sure it stays on track, but we also want to make sure everybody in the city is on board, understands it, and is excited about it. So if I don't see you on the 21st, keep an eye out soon after that on the government channel for the show. And finally, I just received notice from the State Historic Office that the Downtown Historic District has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places. So we're very proud of our historic heritage and our historic structures here in the city, and to have our Downtown Historic District now be on the National Register is very important and a real feather in our cap, so we're proud of that. So with that said, I want to thank you for joining me at another update show here in the city of Peekskill. And again, I hope to have a very good start to the school year, which starts next week. Right after Labor Day, the students will be coming back to school, and we have a whole energized city again with the buses and kids going to school at all levels and activity, people back from vacation. So hopefully we'll see you around the various events throughout the fall, the farmers market, as well as all the other events going on in the city. And until the next show, thank you very much for joining me. I'm Mayor John Testa, and we'll see you soon.